All right. Welcome to the MediaLab podcast. Thank you for joining us today, guys. My name is Sterling Miller, and today I'm joined by Brice Hancock.
Hi, Sterling.
How's it going, Brice?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So tell the little people about what you do and why you love to do it.
So I'm Brice Hancock, and I own a treatment center for drug and alcohol in the city of Denver, Colorado, called Mile High Continuing Care, and I'm launching a zero THC CBD company called Clean Wellness.
That's awesome. So you're starting a CBD company while also running rehab treatments and sober living and sort of living that life. Is there sort of conflict that comes with that?
Well, the goal is not to incorporate the two. The goal is to kind of use my reputation as a treatment center owner to destigmatize CBD. Because CBD is a non-addictive, non-psychoactive substance that happens to be in the cannabis plant with THC, right?
Right. And so tell me, how did you decide to get into CBD then?
So I've been clean and sober since 2013, so coming up on 8 years. And for a while, I was not open to anything from the cannabis plant, right? Nothing from the marijuana plant, no CBD at all. And then I started to, find out through the grapevine that some of my friends had been using CBD for different things like pain, sleep, anxiety. These are some of the things that it's supposed to be good for, right? And so I did a little research into it and started to become more comfortable with it the more education I did. And so I started taking CBD isolate about 8 months ago, and I had this neck pain, and it's gone. Like I always had this neck pain, and it was intense, and I called it like a gnarled monkey fist. It was just always right there, you know.
Right.
And it started to disappear. It didn't happen right away, but I'd say 3 weeks, a month, maybe 5 weeks, and it was gone. And as a result, my mood became elevated because I didn't have this constant pain in my neck, right? And so I just started thinking well, why don't we take it? And I just woke up one day with this idea, what if I could use my reputation and promote CBD as a safe substance for people in recovery and create a product that I can, guarantee there's no THC in. And I use it, and I test myself because I own a treatment center.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a very important thing because there's not many other places for people to turn if they're experiencing bad pain like that. It's either, have CBD, you deal with it, you can try and use some over-the-pain pain medicine, but a lot of the times you're going to go to a doctor and they're going to prescribe you something that in many cases could be way worse for you.
Certainly, opioids, there's a huge problem with opioids and opiates, and if you have chronic pain, that's the go-to, right? Doctors are even trained to go to that first. And myself, I can't take those things. When I go to the dentist, it doesn't matter if I'm getting a tooth pulled or what's going on. I tell them I can't have any opioids. No Percocets, no Vicodins, nothing like that. And I'm not saying it works for dental pain. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist.
Right.
But I think it's safe to explore, and it's safe for athletes to explore if they're in recovery or they don't want to take opioids or even acetaminophen. I was a late-stage alcoholic, so my liver is kind of jacked. And so I can't take acetaminophen. I can take it a little bit, but I don't want to take anything that's going to be, toxic
risk harming
to my
your
liver.
body more.
Yeah, right. And so if CBD works, great. If it doesn't, you can go back to the other things.
It's not for you.
Yeah. And owning a treatment center, we prescribe lots of medication with very negative side effects. We prescribe some really wild medications for, people's mental health problems, depression, anxiety, sleep. And I'm not saying this replaces them. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying it should be safe for people to explore, people like myself.
Well, and we like to think that medicine as sort of this, you have a problem and it's solved, but it's really not that easy. And especially when you get into, the mental aspects of it, where it's you have these mental health problems, we try and treat them with these different ranges of medicines, but it's not a science. It is a science, but it's not exact. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And it's, it's like we could go down that rabbit hole for sure, right? But pharmaceutical companies aren't always looking out for our best interest, in my opinion. And I was diagnosed bipolar. I was also an alcoholic and a drug addict, but I took lots of medications for bipolar, and none of it worked because my real problems, I was on, drugs. So when I stopped doing drugs, it turns out I didn't need any kind of medication for any kind of bipolar disorder. I don't even believe I'm bipolar. I think I was misdiagnosed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the medications I took were awful.
And it goes back to what we're saying where, medicine tries to be exact as possible, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's misdiagnoses, especially for these mental problems, because you measure it based off of how people are acting, and maybe they're taking things that you're not telling the doctor exactly what you're saying.
Or you don't know how to explain how you feel. Dude, I'd go in there to a psychiatrist, and he would say, well, how do you feel? And I would say, well, I still feel anxious, and I'm still having panic attacks. And he'd type in his computer, and he'd say, well, let's try you on this one. That was it. He'd type it in his computer, let's try you on this one. And if you research a lot of medications like Depakote or Seroquel or Trileptal, these are like, mood stabilizers for bipolar. And they were originally anti-seizure medications. And so they just gave them to people that had seizures, and they found that it flattened their mood. And so they decided it's okay for people with bipolar to take. Once again, I'm not a doctor.
Right. Yeah, this all has to be asterisk by saying.
This is all my own personal experience.
Yeah.
But Seroquel made me just absolutely sedated. I mean, they sell it in jail. Like if you're in jail and you can convince them you need Seroquel, you can sell it to other inmates.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Once again, I haven't been to jail. I've heard that that's what they do. That they sell these.
Well, let me ask you about your history. Let's get in.
All right.
It's because you do have, even though you're not a doctor, you do have a lot of personal experience dealing with these things firsthand. Mm-hmm. So tell me, how did your road to recovery start? Right, you say you're late stage alcoholic, and
so like I started drinking young. So alcoholism runs in my family. My grandfather died from alcoholism, and it just runs on both sides of my family. And so when I left home at 18, and I had been drinking a little bit, smoking a little pot, experimenting, like everybody, as far as I know. I went to college, and it quickly became a problem. My freshman year, I woke up and vomit. I was drinking to feel normal. I failed out of school, and then got through college, and it was fine. It was fun, and I was drinking beer and chasing girls and having
It's hard
fun.
to tell in college.
Yeah. But after college, when most of my friends matriculated into regular life and got jobs and families and careers, I did not. I moved to Baltimore and joined a band and got into heroin and crack. So my life devolved very quickly. And what I learned is that when I do drugs like that, it gets really weird really fast. And so I moved out to Colorado, and I always had this idea that if I could just drink, I would be okay. So fast forward to 2007, I get an opportunity to buy a music club, the Toad Tavern in Littleton.
Oh.
And so prior to that, I was a booking agent. I was a musician. And so now here I am. I own a bar, which is a terrible job for an alcoholic.
Right. So backtracking real quick. So you said you were in Baltimore, right? And you were a musician. Did you find some success as a musician while still also maintaining your drug habits?
Yeah. We played, I played CBGBs. I played the 930 Club. I played Hammerjacks. I played some really awesome clubs, and we toured up and down the East
But you found
Coast.
more success as a booking agent.
So I moved to Colorado because my life had crashed and burned there due to drugs. And so my parents were out here in Colorado. I moved out here and started in another band out here, Rubber Planet, which had some success around, 2000 to 2005-ish. And I didn't want a real job, I'll be honest with you. I wanted to play music. And so for a while I sold weed, and I would do anything I could. And I started booking shows for other bands. I did blues tours for a while, national blues tours. I was like an outside promoter at places like the Bluebird. And then I worked at the Toad Tavern. And then I worked at Herman's Hideaway. And then I was at Herman's Hideaway, and the guy that owned the Toad said, "Do you want to buy the Toad?" And I said, "Well, I don't have any money." And he said, "I'll carry the loan for you," which means
Yeah, you just pay
There
him
you
back
go.
as
You
your
owe-
profits.
Right.
Yeah.
I own a bar, so there I am.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just this like really weird turn of events that just kept going. And here I am owning the Toad, 2007, 2008. Boom, the economy goes straight down into the toilet, right? I remember I could feel it like physically. The money dried up. People stopped coming out. And, granted, alcohol and alcoholism, people still drink, especially during times of
That's the whole
stress,
idea.
economic stress, but it wasn't the same. They weren't coming out and spending a ton of money. So it got hard. Like running that business got really tough, and I struggled for 7 years, but I kept it open for 7 years, and my drinking got worse and worse. So I was in and out of the doctor, and I had gout. I had these sores all over my body. I had this fluid in my stomach, at my stomach lining, and I was sick. Like I was making myself sick from alcohol. I was completely physically dependent. I'd wake up with the shakes. And finally, the doctor said, we did a blood test, and the results came back, and I went to see him, and he said, you are a late-stage alcoholic. I never heard it like that before, and he showed me his chart. It said alcohol abuse severe. He said, your pancreas is stressed, your liver the enzymes are elevated, they're through the roof, and he said, I'm surprised your heart hasn't stopped. I'll give you a year to live if you can't stop drinking. I couldn't stop drinking. I had like lost the power of choice.
So what was your immediate reaction when he said that?
Fear, bargaining, like how bad is an alcoholic death anyway? And
wow.
Can I stretch it into 4 years? Can I slow down? And it was just a lot of mixed reactions. But I was always drunk, and so I wasn't in my right mind. So I just struggled, and it's like every day I knew I was dying. I felt terrible inside, like my insides were a mess. And but I knew I wasn't going to die that day, like today.
Right.
I was going to get drunk today, right? So I just kept doing it, and then I don't know why. But I started going to AA. I started going to 12-step meetings.
You don't know why?
I don't know what happened. One day I just started going. And I'd go to one, and I would drink. And then I'd go find another one, and then I would drink. And then I'd go to another one, and then I would drink. And then one day I stopped. And I had this, like, mental breakdown, this, like, nervous breakdown, and went to a psych hospital and played my bipolar card. And they said they diagnosed me. They diagnosed me bipolar 1 with rapid cycling and post-traumatic stress disorder from early childhood trauma. And I was like, great.
Wow.
Because that means I don't have to say I'm an alcoholic, right? And so they put me on these medications.
That's how it worked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's how it worked for me in my head. It made sense. And so they put me on those medications like we were just talking about, and I felt terrible. And it was like it was time to make a decision. Do I want to be a mental patient or just admit that I'm powerless over alcohol? And so I haven't drank since. And so that was kind of my road to recovery, was through a lot of drama and pain.
Yeah, because for you, it's about the control, right? Because you were under the control of this substance for so long that you finally realized that, and that realization that you weren't really in control that whole time.
No, and it's really weird. It's kind of like everybody was mad at me. I had no money. My life was terrible. I was depressed, anxious, bleeding when I went to the bathroom. And if somebody said you drink too much, I'd fight them. You know what I mean? Like I was fighting to stay that way.
Yeah.
Because that's the disease, is that it tricks you.
Just how does it feel to wake up in the morning after you've been 6-7+ years of just constant drinking and drinking?
Well, I'm really grateful. I get to, I have a whole new life. Like I love my life. I have kids that I love. I get along with my parents. I have a career that I love.
Oh, I'm sure you wake up now and you feel incredible.
I do. I feel great. You mean, how did I feel back then?
Right.
Awful.
Yeah.
I'd wake up, literally every day I'd wake up, I'd sit on the edge of the bed, and I'd think, am I going to throw up? Run to the bathroom, throw up. Sometimes there was blood. And then I'd start looking for booze. And then I'd have to get booze in me before I could even drink water.
Yeah, that could be rough. That could be real rough.
Yeah. So that's how it was every day.
Right. Yeah. But you moved past it now.
I'm past it now.
You have an amazing. You have a kid, but you don't have.
I have 2 kids.
You have 2 kids.
2 boys. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And a 9-year-old.
And so did you got sober before you had your kids?
No, the first kid, my oldest son Trace, is 9, and so he was born. I was still drinking.
Wow. Okay.
He doesn't remember it.
Right.
But I wasn't a very present dad, and so that was one of the things I had to learn how to do, is become father.
Yeah.
To my son. And I got, they say don't make any major changes your first year. I did. I sold the bar. Didn't make any sense anymore, right? And plus, I didn't want to be around it. I sold the bar. I got divorced. And there I am with a little kid, like a little boy, right? Yeah. And he's counting on me to take care of him. I didn't know how to do that. And fortunately, it's not that hard. When he was hungry, I'd feed him. When he went to the bathroom, I'd change him. When he was bored, I'd entertain him. And I became other-centered. Like, instead of being so selfish about myself all the time, I started taking care of somebody else.
That's awesome. So lead into here. So that sort of gave you the momentum to start these rehab houses and those test houses.
So 2 years sober, right. I'm questioning. I don't know. It's like I had this other, bottom. The first one was about drinking. The second one was about, what am I doing here? Like, what is this all about? Who am I as a sober person? It can't just be about get a job, remarry, pay bills until I die. Like, I was missing that purpose in my life. And so I went through this, I went back into therapy and dealt with a bunch of early childhood stuff.
Yeah.
That I believe we all probably have, but I was ready to deal with it, and
That's good you came up to terms with it, though. That you dealt head on, or maybe not to terms, but you at least faced it.
I was having a dark night of the soul, as they call it. Like, I didn't know how to make myself feel better. I was depressed, and I remember talking to this guy, this old-timer in AA, as we call him, and I was like, man, I am depressed. Like, I don't want to wake up in the morning. And he said, are you meditating? And I said, I'm not that depressed. Right. And I heard myself say it like here's the solution, meditate or read a book or go to therapy. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep trying my way. Right. And so I had this lights went off in my brain. So I went to therapy because I don't like being in pain. I don't like being depressed. Right. And dealt with it. And then I just had this, when I came out of that depression, I sold the house I was living in because it wasn't my dream house. It was a great house, but it wasn't making me happy. I had this relationship that was definitely not making me happy, and that was over, and I just kept that ended. And I quit my job, and like I said, I sold the house. I gave away all my stuff. I moved down to a small apartment in Denver, and I started to meditate. And I opened one sober house, just through this weird chain of events. Somebody said, we need sober housing, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was going to do it immediately.
Yeah.
So I opened up one sober house. My depression lifted for good, and I was able to give back and be of service to other people like myself.
You found that purpose.
Yeah, and I didn't even know it was going to be a career. I thought I was just going to be able to pay the mortgage or whatever, but it turned into a career, and so I just kept opening houses, and then I opened up the treatment center too, and that's a whole different level. I have 20 employees now, and I have smart employees. They have real college degrees, right? These are licensed counselors. And so we charge insurance. It's a little more lucrative than sober housing, but still just as rewarding, and we're actually helping people and making an impact.
Yeah, and so that sort of gave you maybe the idea for the CBD as well, making an impact, helping people change that stigma and change people's lives.
Yeah, I just kind of believe life is about, change, always changing and evolving. And if I believe in something, I'm willing to kind of go to bat for it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I found out that, because there are, it's cannabis, right? I can't get high, right? And people like me shouldn't get high because we'll relapse. Steve O from Jackass says, my weed bone's connected to my booze bone. That's why he doesn't smoke weed, right? That's why I don't smoke weed, because I'll always go look for that next thing. But I can take CBD because it's non-psychoactive and non-addictive, right? And so it's kind of like my obligation, I believe, to like say, hey, it's okay.
Yeah, because it's always about bringing that change, and there's a stigma there that you feel is inappropriate, and it should be changed.
Well, it's just misunderstood. Like, I'm not like, yeah, you're right. But I'm not, it's not like I'm blaming like society or like, you know, I'm not. It's just, we didn't know. We just knew, you know, I sold weed, right? And it's like, I'd sell it, and then they'd put it in a bong or a pipe or roll a joint and smoke it and get high. And then when they started to research it, now it's legal. Now you got labs, you got scientists, and there's, over 400 chemicals in cannabis, and 2 of them are really interesting. One's THC, which they manipulated right out of the gate to make you get more wasted, which I get. And then the other one's CBD. And I know there's other ones, but those are the 2 real interesting ones. And CBD has some real positive health benefits. THC probably does too.
Yeah.
So I can't take it.
Yeah. So where do you see sort of the future in this going for you? Right?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It might bomb. You know, people might get really mad at me. They might say you have no business being in both these spaces. I don't know. But that's just kind of how I do things. Like, I don't see the end product. I just take one step. Like, I opened one house. Like, I'll take one step, and I believe the universe will rearrange the way it needs to. Mm-hmm. So who knows?
So let me talk about meditating, because do you still meditate, practice it a lot?
I do, pretty much every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about sort of the process of meditating. I don't currently meditate. I've tried.
Okay. It's hard.
Yeah.
So, like, we all wake up in the morning, right? You wake up and you just kind of go about your daily routine. You wake up, you kind of, I don't know what you go to the bathroom, you look in the mirror.
Drink some coffee.
There I am. I'm Sterling, or I'm Brice, and you go about your thing, right? But your head's already going. It's spinning. You're thinking about your problems from before, what you're going to do over the day. You're probably having conversations with people that don't even know you're having a conversation with them, right? And it's like, for me, it's a chance to reset and to kind of, it's not about stopping your thinking, it's about controlling your thinking, right? And so I can kind of like envision how I want to be in the world, how I want to be able to react in the world, and to just, you know, be grateful, remind myself I am grateful. And, you know, it's like spiritual, it's spirituality, right? I mean, I don't know what you believe in. I believe in something, I call it God. I'm not Christian, but I'll just kind of touch base with it, right? And say, you know, I'm here, it's okay. I'm going to go do this today. I want to be easygoing. I want to be level-headed. I want to be intelligent, funny. And it's just a way for me to kind of like, because my baseline, I believe, is negative. And I don't want to be negative as I go through my day. So I'll just kind of touch base.
So your spirituality, do you believe that there is like one sort of central being, or do you think that we're all sort of interconnected, or is it sort of like a question mark, right?
It's more like the Force in Star Wars than anything for me. That's kind of what I
like
believe,
that.
Right? I believe in the law of attraction, right? Like, if you do good, good will come back. Like, if I help people, that's a good thing to do, right? And it's that's what I believe in. Like, if I'm positive things will happen. If I'm negative things will happen. I was in a band with this guy, and he hated fast food workers. He was so mean to them. And we were at band practice, and we went to McDonald's and came back, and someone had taken a bite out of his sandwich. And I think it was the law of attraction at work, because that never happens, right? Like, I just think that was like instant karma.
Someone in the fast food was just like, this guy.
I don't know, dude.
He's got that look on his face.
Yeah, I don't know. So I just believe in that. And that's how I try to live my life.
Yeah, I hate when people treat fast food workers like garbage. You know, I spent years working in fast food when I was a teenager. You know, if you haven't worked the front lines of consumerism, you know what I'm saying? You don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good job. You deal with the public. You deal with money. You know, there's protocols, rules.
Yeah. Did you have any like early careers or jobs, or were you focused sort of more on getting drunk and partying?
Certainly, but I've always been kind of an entrepreneur at heart. Like, I don't like working for people.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. It just didn't work for me. But I was a therapist with autistic kids right after college, which was difficult because I was on drugs. Being a booking agent was an entrepreneur. I'm a realtor as well. That's like, you know, being an entrepreneur. So that's just kind of my thing. But I did work in restaurants through college.
Yeah. It teaches you a lot just about the human psyche and what people are willing to take sometimes.
It's important to be able to get along and work for people, I believe, and follow rules and have like a work ethic. Because I don't care what you do. If you have no work ethic, you're not going to be successful, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And it's also about working as a team.
Working as a team, like what
In
is
a process.
Tony Robbins says, don't be the smartest guy in the room, be the dumbest guy in the room. And that's kind of how, like, I've got wonderful employees, and I believe that I attracted them, or that my business attracted them. And we all have the same mission, which is to help people, with their mental health problems and their addiction problems, and to have high quality lives.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so that's sort of, you take that's sort of the soul of your operations, right? You just want to provide
that's
quality
the heart
lives.
and soul of our business, is that it's not just about getting them off drugs. It's that a year from now, 5 years from now, they're living life, and like maybe they're making an impact on the world, right? And there's like this ripple effect where if we help one person, that one person has a family. And they know people, and you know what I mean? So it just kind of spreads out.
Is there a level of also like recommending meditation, or recommending like physical, like going out and working out in terms of helping your mental health? Do you sort of advocate those things? Or?
I do, but that's not really my thing. Like, and I work out 5-6 times a week. But my thing is, like, I set it up, and I hope they find their own magic.
Yeah,
I don't tell them what to do. If they ask, I'll tell them what I do. But
I like that. Well, I think we're coming up, and I think we're going to go ahead and end the show. But right. Brice, go ahead and plug your website, plug your social medias.
All right. So what do we got? MileHighSoberLiving.com is the sober living company. MileHighContinuingCare.com is the treatment center, and CleanWellness.com, I believe, is the URL for that. It's we're still working on it right now, so it's like brand new.
Awesome. Check them out at all those places, guys. This is the Media Lab podcast, so we'll see you next week.